right, guys. So continuing this conversation about Catholic youth ministry, and I thought it was important before moving forward to bring on my wife. What's up?
What's up?
Now, I know that I've been talking with people who work in youth ministry. I've been talking with people that are with young people in the parish or in the schools or diocesan level. But what's happening at home is equally, if not more important. So yeah, Janet, do you want to say anything about what it's like being married to a youth minister? Anything you just want to jump in with that?
Well, I think that it is 100% tough to be married to a youth minister, or just the challenges that it comes with, like being at work a lot, or taking the family with you, extended hours on certain days of the week because you got these events to do. So it's and it also has its plus because, like it's also good for the kids to see you in ministry, good to see you out there, serving God. That is like the vocation, right? So it's like, that is, what God has called you to do, is to minister, but also to, see how it all started to like, where is it at today? Because I've been here, part of this whole journey, the whole process for many years, and so it's tough, and it's also, because it has limits,
Well, all right. Let's break that down into pieces because we got time. We don't have to like rush. It's not like a a 1 minute Instagram clip or anything like that, right?
Right.
So one of the major difficulties is time.
Right. Yeah.
Like I know that like because everybody's fighting for my time, right? There's youth ministry kids fighting for my time. There's the priests fighting for my time. There's the the parents fighting for my time. There's whoever fighting for my time. There's other parishes and other retreats and other things fighting for my time. And then taking care of home and kids and all of that.
Yeah. So, I mean, which is a great point that you bring up, like all those different parts of ministry and also your household, right? So, like breaking down that time is like, okay, how do we balance that? So, for an example, like in the morning time, you take the baby to school, Chiara, and then Christian gets to school by himself. That's also time that you get to spend with the kids, but not as much, right? And then there's also like Monday. Monday is like is the easy, but also tough because you get the baby, you pick her up from school, then we have our own time, which is about like an hour before we have to come together as a whole entire family again at like 7 o'clock at night.
Right.
And then doing homework and, getting dinner prepared. And, so that whole part of you, just a lot of that time on Mondays kind of like ease up a little bit on me because, Tuesday through Friday is like mom doing everything, cooking and cleaning and doing everything like that. And then you're out,
Yeah.
doing work, God's work.
Yeah, I mean we could let's talk this part. Like I mean it sucks, but it's hard, right? Because many times it's rare that I get a full weekend.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like that just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Then you have what you were saying even on the time aspect too. Like I think when you work in ministry, it's not a clock in, clock out job. So there's times I get a random text or a random email or a random phone call, and it's like I have to set boundaries. And I think I've gotten better over the years, but then it's hard at sometimes because, like, again, like I said, everybody's fighting for that time and the attention and the care and all of that.
Yeah, I remember like in the beginning when it was like message after message after message. I'm like, put your phone down. You got to be with us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because work is work and it's not a 9 to 5 job. And that's sometimes like, I think that is a 9 to 5 job Monday through Friday. And it's really not. It's all day. And then like, I guess part of this had to go back to like where I used to work at Good Shepherd Services, working with the foster care agency. I was on the clock 24/7.
Yeah, I mean, there's social services,
Right.
but even that, right? So, like, for example, like, there's still a different level of boundaries
Exactly.
because of that layer of things, right? And then if I can add to it, another thing, and the reason why I think it's important for me to do this, for us to do this, is because there is no template for this.
Yeah.
Right? Like in the Catholic faith, being a layperson who works in ministry, like I'm not a priest.
Right.
I'm not clergy. I'm not a deacon. I have a family to tend to. But then I'm also, it's not an administrative job where I'm just doing paperwork. I'm cultivating relationships and building programs and doing media projects and editing things. And there's so many layers to it. So like there's no template for what that looks like.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. There's no template. But sometimes in my brain, there is a template, right? So I'm like, okay, it got to be X, Y, and Z. It's not always black and white, but it is that way. But I will say that you have gotten better over the years. And I think that's just me pressuring you to say, give yourself that boundary, because you also don't want to overextend yourself and get burned out from what you do, because it is a lot of work to do at the same time. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and in the same way that it's difficult, I think, for you to understand, I think it's difficult for the priest to understand. It's difficult for the kids to understand. It's difficult for the parents to understand. It's difficult for parish staff to understand, because again, like it's like and we can talk about this too, is on a natural level, just us, we're in between.
yeah.
Right? Like I have I'm gonna use church terms, like
Okay.
I'm involved in pastoral care, but I do not have a pastoral role directly, like priest, deacon, so forth, right? Like, then culturally where we fit in the church, and also age-wise where we fit in the church, because we're young adults, but we're married and we have kids, so we don't fit in the typical young adults, right? But we don't fit in with the older adults either, and then we don't fit in the Hispanic community, and we don't fully fit in the white community, and we don't fully fit in the black community, and so like we're in-betweeners on all levels, in all ways.
I mean, so you touched on a couple of things like age, culture, right? And so for me, a lot of times is, you're right. Like we don't fit in those boxes, or we don't check a box, right? And so it's like, me personally, I've always expressed like I'm a multicultural individual person, and I think that you can relate to that as well, because we could, even though we can't check the box off, but we find our ways to be able to mesh with all cultures and be around. Like for an example, like I'm Hispanic, Italian, Irish, and Black, but I make all different types of food, even Indian food.
Yeah.
And people are like, how did you make that? Are you Indian? Like people check that box for me, and I'm like, well, no, this is what it really is.
Yeah, and we're from New York City, right? Like let's do this. Like our daughter's best friend is a Filipino.
Yeah.
Filipino families, right? Like I mean, we're constantly around different cultures. We've been in Indian communities, we've been in Black communities, and so we're a little bit of all of it, but we're not just one of it, And I think one sense, and there's another difficulty I think we face, is us being ministered to, right? Like, and then even like with, again, I'm gonna add the age range thing to it, is like, we can't attend the typical young adult group because we don't fit in that box, but we are in that age category, right?
Yeah.
Like even like me finding a spiritual director, they like, oh, we got to move you with the married men, but then they move me with the older married men. And they also weren't from the same culture background, and so like I've constantly have to like jump through those loops.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
And even like me seeing you jump from those loops, because you had a spiritual director, like, and then you got married, and then so you didn't fit there anymore, so you had to get to the married group. And then I'm trying to get spiritual direction from a community that I just did not work out because of all the age groups and all the, the other culture stuff to that. And I think that's the issue for me, is like, for me personally, for me to continue to grow, is like I have to have like the culture there, the age there, and also the spiritual feeding.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard because at times, like, to drive to Brooklyn for young adults, I got kids.
Yep.
You know what I mean? To drive to like down the block, or to be down the block, I still have kids because I have a teenager, and then we have, all of these, little small pockets of not being fulfilled. At the same time, we still want to be fed.
Right.
And I think that's like kind of like one of those big things for me, is like,
and so on all levels, we have to do it ourselves. Like that's one of the things I like, is it's exhausting it's rewarding, it's exhausting, it's all of that, right? Because yeah,
I mean, thankfully for you, like, I have to, thank God because, like, you always spiritually feeding all of us in the house. Like, you bring in the books, you bring in the music, you bring in, preaching, allowing us to come together, as the husband to pray, in the house and trying to still bring those, like, pieces that need to be fulfilled.
yeah, and again, I think I don't know if anybody watching this. One of the reasons, again, I want to do this is because I think you've watched this throughout the years, like because there's never been a model, I'm always figuring it out, and then like I stumbled my way through it to figure out how to do it, and I'm still figuring out how to do it. But if like for the next I could be like, hey, look, I could save y'all from these heartaches and these mistakes and all of those things, right? So, like, there's times maybe I wish I would have budgeted time a little bit better. I wish there's times I would have found some healthier boundaries with some things. Um, you know, and then, and I know we're jumping around because I think these are all aspects of it, but also, um, even financially, right?
Oh God,
Like,
I've
the,
seen it all.
yeah, what sucks is as much as people say they want youth, if people don't put their money where their mouth is and they don't value these kids.
That is true.
If you want to talk in the dollar sense, but then y'all don't pay for a retreat, or y'all won't keep someone on full time, or opt out of
Contracts.
grants even because you felt some type of way because you were culturally disconnected with something, if you want to boil it down to the end of the day.
Yeah. And like I've seen all the craziness of like ministry starting in your life. Like I remember back in the days when you first started, I'm like, why are you getting paid so low? Like you're not worth this amount. We should be getting paid more because you're putting in more. Because you're not doing the bare minimum. You're giving them more than what they are offering you. And then when the person came out of that grant, that was hurtful, to the whole family because I think that at the time, like we were getting situated and getting the kids in school and stuff like that, and it's like, oh, okay, dang, now we got to find other means to make money, and like you were doing all these retreats and all this stuff, and I'm like, okay, this is good, but it's still taking away the time that these kids also need with you.
Right. No, it was literally survival mode. It's been survival mode the majority, even till now in many ways, right? I mean, like, uh, and again, that's one of those things. I don't think pastors, I don't think DREs, I don't think about, even on the diocesan level, they get
No.
what it takes. Like, and then so what happens is, and I've seen this, is and this is no shade. This is literally for documentation purposes. This is in order to be able to give voice to it and then figure out how to like solve those issues is having things like proper mentors, right? Having things like not just a cookie cutter program, but people that can kind of accompany and walk side and disciple the youth ministers themselves, right? People to check in, people to be like, no, 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 you need to go home, like be with your family. We will figure out the other volunteers to do something. Right? Nah, bro, like you're there before everybody, you leave after everybody, and yeah, like the train of all of that is in and of itself.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's nights where you come home on Friday at like what, 12:30, 1:30. Not that late, but like you're still out.
It has been that in the past, and right now I'm not, but
Right.
yeah.
I mean, yes, in the past, but that's also part of the ministry, and that's kind of like you got to step out of that zone for a little bit, and
Yeah.
try to like still minister, but be there for everyone.
And I don't think this is one of the things that I don't think most people know what this actually takes, right? From organizing and planning the night to delivering a message to crafting things to, handling permission forms to thinking creative and making artistic collaborations with the kids and with the families themselves,
Right.
reaching out, like, because it's a lot of jobs mixed together. And ideally, you would have multiple people doing these things,
Right.
but because nobody knows what it looks like most of the time, and even in the places where I've been where there was something established, it was not up to date. Let's just say it that way. Like,
Yeah. I mean, I also think that the church is trying to figure things out too on their own because they don't know how it goes, right? Like, you're fortunate because you've gone through like his creative, right? And they gave you formats and then you went through um like they gave you templates and then you had that job that you were working at the law firm and so it's kind of like you come with a jack of all trades.
oh, I'm hybrid. Everything is hybrid. I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of like what I was saying. Even where we are culturally, age wise, all of that is like we literally everything is hybrid.
Yeah. And that sucks that sometimes it's hybrid because it's like you want that one-to-one face contact, you know what I mean, to the most, to the bare. But look at a pandemic. Like, look what you did in a pandemic at that St. Mike's Church. Like, you went from being in the office to fully going remote, right? And then coming back hybrid because you was still working because you was a first responder. So you was still working during that time. And it was just like, you could do X, Y, and Z, but nobody else could do it.
Yeah, I mean, and that unfortunately, again, that's been most places in most cases, right? Is having a skill set and a tool set that are not there. But again, I'm gonna go back to it not being valued, right? So like, yeah, we want to engage the kids. The rap music is cool. Come do it, but we're gonna give you $50.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, get some gas money, but we'll pay for a speaker something else, or we'll pay for a worship team something else, right? But then, and I want to, I don't want to miss this point because I want to back up just a second. Another thing you said about like learning it outside, that has been like a hurt and a frustration, and in itself is like, there's not something unfortunately, there's not Catholic materials to turn to for being married in ministry. There's not Catholic materials to turn to for being urban in ministry. There's not Catholic materials to turn to for being multicultural in ministry. There's not, I could keep going on the list, social media. I mean, all of that, right? And so a lot of times it's been, or even just feeding our families, right? Like, and I'm sorry, y'all, like, when we need something, a lot of times we have to turn to our non-Catholic brothers and sisters for good music, for good speaking, for even how to budget your time correctly, right? Because if you look at like married pastors over there, there's so much more I've learned from them that a priest can't tell me because they don't know how to do that. Yeah.
And I think, yeah, that is tough because he touched it, right?
Yeah, no, let's be real.
Okay, so like priests, I love you guys. You guys are all the priests, and I get it. But sometimes I'm not being spiritually fed because it's always centered in one position, right? It's not like, okay, like, I just need somebody like a priest. And I like preaching, like when somebody is like yelling, being firm, like telling you wrong in every aspects of it. But I feel like sometimes I don't get that connection with a priest, right? Or preaching.
Let me add one. Let's give words to that. There's passion,
right,
and a level of conviction that's not conveyed, aka your homily suck. I'll say it. 98% of ones we go to, and I'm always just like, because again, and I'll say it because I know like you're being nice because we're on camera, but like it hurts to know that you bring your family to mass and they're not being fed and you got to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
You got to do other things in order to feed them.
Yep, that's true. And like,
and we've done, I'll add this one, and we've done all the right things, right? We say it's Catholic, pro-life, pro-family, all that. So what are you doing for the kids and for the family and all that other stuff? Like, yeah.
Like, back in the days at Santa Maria, they had the family mass, right? Bring your family. That was good, but it was just still not something being fed there. You know what I mean? So, like you said, passion and so forth. Those are things. But I think like one of my biggest struggles, and I've voiced this in many places, is the music. Like, it just does not vibe with me. It does not. And like, I love gospel music. I love like contemporary music, but for some apparent reason, the music that like we listening to in the mass is just I I fall asleep or like I want to go to sleep, and it's like that's not the right thing to do. So you gotta find ways to occupy, that brain of yours. But I just think like I want the church to be able to play gospel music or like some type of like worship music, but get the crowd involved. Like, all right, everybody, we're gonna sing this song, clap, or sing with us along because that's what it is worshiping God in that way.
And again, let's air it all out to make it real. I think for people, because what you're saying at is a big part of our spirituality is charismatic,
Right.
but
That's the right word.
that's a big part of it, right? However, there's also a big part of our spirituality that is very contemplative and like wants to open the Bible and sit in the Word and be silent and all of that. So it's not one or the other; it's both. Again, we're gonna go back to the hybrid thing. Like it's both. We need both in equal amount working off of each other.
Right.
And if we're going to talk about majority of the charismatic community, particularly in most areas, we'll do everything in Spanish.
Yeah.
And we don't speak Spanish. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Sorry.
Yeah, that's just not us. That's not who we are. So that's one part. The other thing, and we'll say is I want to give you space to do this, right? Because you are a convert to the Catholic faith and you chose this for a reason. So what we're not saying is we're not saying that we don't believe in the sacraments.
Right.
We're not saying that we don't believe in the hierarchy of the church. We're not saying but what we are saying is that is not being communicated well.
Right. I would say that. And yes, I am a convert. Convert, exactly. There you go. So I grew up Muslim, and like in the Muslim faith, like there was, prayer, but there was no music. So that silent part kind of stayed with me, but did not stay with me, right? But like it was calm, it was relaxing. You ate. I mean, it was very different. But I also didn't have a relationship in the Muslim faith at all. No type of relationship.
And let me do this because again, I think we need to make the distinction. People will understand. It's Nation of Islam.
Right.
Okay. So like, I think let's make a clarity of that. That is growing up in the African American Black community, and the struggles and hurts of that. And there's a big part of the social justice aspect that's connected to the Nation of Islam.
Yeah.
And so being formed in that.
Right. And so like it was never really was a like I didn't find connection, and I'm a person that has to find something to be able to kind of like feel it inside of me internally, right? And so then I guess like during high school, 12th grade or something like that, I met this young lady that she was ministering in school, and she introduced me to God, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then I went to like one sermon, and I loved it. Like I loved the preaching, I loved the music. It was engaging. Everybody was just fellowshipping with God, and it was just so profound. And then I was like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna walk with God at that time. And then I got baptized, and and during that time when I got baptized, I even was in ministry a lot more, fully like devoted into the faith as much as possible. And then it was like later years in life, and I found my mom, and then I realized I kind of like knew that she was Catholic. And then that whole side of my biological side of family is Catholic. But it wasn't until like when I found my mom and I was starting to pray to Mary, like asking Mary, give me a mom, because I just never had a mother figure in my life to like really show me love and compassion and forgiveness and, being there. And then I was like, oh, this is, something I can sit with, So like, that's how I came to my faith as a Catholic, by having a devotion to Mary and being in silent. And I wasn't even like, we weren't even like in the same borough at this time. I was in Albany. And when this all conversion happened, it was like, and I was like really listening and just understanding like the sacraments and Holy Communion and wanting Holy Communion, but understanding that I couldn't have it until I became a Catholic. And then it was just like, now you can have communion once you get baptized, once you had your full, all of your sacraments. And I think that was like the most beautiful thing, because you see Jesus on the altar every day. It's not just on a particular Sunday. And then, having a relationship with Mary and being able to be in this communion with her was also like a driving force to my faith.
Yeah, again, the reason why I'm doing this is because I think the people that watch this, like, it's helping them to understand and form, because again, we come from such a different place. Like, I've learned throughout the years, there's certain words and certain things that give context to things, right? So this was shouts out Jasmine, right?
Oh yeah, Jasmine.
Shouts
Yeah.
out to Jasmine. But non-denominational Christianity, right? Invited to a youth group while you were running on the track team.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so like, right, and
Running in the hallways in particular. Being bad in school.
so that, and then on top of that, then in college, again, campus ministry,
Right.
where you get baptized, you get involved in campus ministry.
Right.
This is also part of the time we had connected online, right?
Right.
Like in this transition, obviously you got baptized, so forth. And then being at these non-denominational events, you found this out, you got connected to your mom, all those stuff. But then because of the presence of Catholics at the non-denominational events, first starts planting seeds. And the reason why I want to give words to this, because I know I've been a part of a lot of conversations of Catholics that are scared to engage like non-Catholics. And I'm going to say this for me, like as a husband, if it wasn't for Catholics being involved in that conversation, my wife wouldn't be here. So if you're scared to do that, how many more are you keeping out? Some who would even be fearful of this and not want to do that come from the same communities, raised in the same neighborhoods and all of that, but will intentionally stay within their boxes and within their circles. And so this is why I felt like I need to give voice to this, is because like the goal for any of these conversations is to help priests, is to help our youth ministers, because they're hearing a voice that they normally wouldn't hear.
Right.
And I'm a fast forward to after becoming Catholic, after, receiving your sacraments at the Easter Vigil, right? Then I'm doing ministry for years, and I'm fighting the battles and the drama and the pushback and all of those things, the shade thrown, all of that. And I personally, like I said, it's me, the dude has been working for the church, doing all that stuff, ran all the retreats that I got to a point where I was fed up with the Catholic Church, and we had started attending a non-denominational Christian community that we were welcomed by in a way that we had never been welcomed by.
Oh yeah.
In the Catholic faith.
That was what Ishmael, I remember.
Yeah. And so, but I want to say this also because, again, and it was like, man, we still believe in the Eucharist. Yeah, but we want, man, but we want to receive sacraments. But man, we need this community. We need this fellowship. Whatever. And this tug. And then finally got to a point where like there was a moment where like it was a few weeks that I got to a point and I was just like, man, I was being ministered to so well on that other side.
Yeah.
That we missed Mass. That was the first time, like, for years I'd ever missed Mass. And I need to say this because I don't think I've ever told you this even, like, but I'm going to say it publicly. Like, it literally was her.
Oh.
So I'm saying this. She was the one that was just like, hey, when are we going to go receive the Eucharist? I need to go receive the Eucharist. So when you hear everything we're saying and the hurt and the frustration and all that stuff, it's coming from this place.
Yep.
Yeah.
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 Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. Like, it gives context for people because I think, like, people don't get to see the behind the scenes of things.
Yeah. And as transparent that we are, and to the most that we can, is like, we're here because we want to serve. We're here because we love, and we're here because we care, and we want to bring more people to Jesus, right? Because at the end of the day, we gotta be able to minister to them in the best way that we can, right? And it's true, like, if it wasn't for all of those, people that played a big part of our lives, we probably wouldn't even be married.
Mm-hmm.
Probably be somewhere else, and
yeah, and all of those people contributed. I mean, if I go back, there's times we've met with family members that were more on the Nation of Islam side. But
Yeah.
There's words of wisdom I've gotten from that side. There's words of wisdom that I've gotten from our Christian friends. There's like, and I can say that it hurts like not having it in our direct faith community, in our Catholic community.
Yeah.
And so that being said, like giving that background and that context, where do you think we would say, or you would say, like things you would wish to see or you would hope be like, hey, pastors, priests, why don't you start doing this? Hey, youth minister, why aren't you aware of this? Like giving those words of advice and those thoughts.
Well, I had a priest that one day asked me, like, what did you think that could be different in Hamas? And it was like the first time I ever been in that space.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, the music. And straight up. Like, music is kind of like very soothing to people's soul. Like, it hits deep inside. So, like, for me, is the music, the
So more engaging and more lively music.
exactly.
Clear words to it.
Yeah, exactly. So like more lively music, more upbeat music, that is key for me. And then like go in the pubes. Don't be afraid to come out to pubes. Like even
Views, yeah.
even like the musician should be coming out of their space to come interact with the people in the church.
Yeah, I think, and this is where I think we can help in that sense is because I know where the pushback is going to be from that comment is the mass and the liturgy has a structure and has a thing, right? And so, and I think that's right. And so what you mean is like finding ways to bring people into the psalm,
Right.
Which you'll see this in, in some of the gospel side, in some of the charismatic community, in some of that stuff, but wanting more of it and finding a better placement for some of it.
Yeah. And then like a couple of things that I think that could be, obviously the preaching could be a little bit better, right? Some priests, they preach and then it's like, oh, they'll do like one week good, then the next week is trash. Then in another week good, then it's trash. There's never like consistently good homilies that I've, been able to like absorb so much more information. And then I think that like, so this is something that struggles are real, right? Racism is real, like, pornography is real, like, like these are just different topics that the Protestants are good at hitting on, but the Catholic Church struggles to hit on it.
Yeah.
Right? Like they don't
shy away.
Yeah.
And we shy away from controversial topics unless it's abortion.
Exactly.
I'm gonna say no. Yeah. I'll say it straight up. The only one we seem to be really vocal about is abortion, which agreed.
Yeah.
Again, this is where I'm talking about. Like we agree. However, if we want to go through the actual pro-life term, right? I love this term that's been thrown around, and honestly, I haven't heard it on the Catholic side. I've heard it on the non-Catholic Christian side. Is whole life. We say womb to the tomb, like on paper, but in practical aspects, it's not being said. So when we talk about racism, prison reform, education, family, like all of those things.
Yeah, like match it to the homily. Because I'm sure that people can connect their homilies to what these social issues are. Like people can connect that. So I would like to see more of that. Another thing I've been kind of like wanting more is obviously the young adults, but preaching from the young adults. You know what I mean? Like, I guess only a priest can preach on, or a deacon can preach.
You're talking about more because this is like
it doesn't have to be part of the mass, but like more of that type of feeding. You know what I mean? Like, let's say me and you go to a retreat and they have a young adult, preaching. More of that, like more of the young people coming out of the pews and giving a talk.
Yeah, like witness.
Yeah,
is what you're asking for.
Exactly. Yeah. More witness. Other things, sorry to cut you off, but it's just like on my mind and I don't want to forget it. But like retreats for kids to go with their parents.
Yeah.
So, and I only see a few handful, like the charismatic, they did the family day where you were able to go with your whole entire family to a retreat for a weekend. But even if we had more of that to get the younger kids involved, that would be great.
Yeah. I mean, shouts out to Encounter Catholic Ministries. I talked about this on the St. Hannah City podcast directly, but I think in other ways, like, we separate the families and aren't ministering to the whole family,
right?
In many ways. So like,
Like our daughter, we took our daughter to the Encounter Ministry last year, and she loved it so much. She was like, I want to come back next year. And I'm like, let's do it, But, I think like if we get more of those type of things in the city, right? Because our city comes first, right? Not outside of the city.
Yeah, and I mean, there's some small attempts, right? Shouts out to, because what you're saying is at the Central,
Yeah.
they did one. We weren't able to go, money, time, and I mean, this is the other part to it, right? Is going back to the time thing in ministry is like many times because I'm still a layperson that needs to be ministered to, but I'm doing so much of the ministering to other people, like being cold in those ways. But I want to back up because I think because again, I want to. I know some people are going to say, "Well, there are young adult things." Well, man, if we need to figure out things, and okay, I guess there is witness talks or whatever. But the issue, I think, because you keep using the word preaching, and there is an issue, I think, in our Catholic faith. This is both with the lay people and the priests that we even use the word "give a talk," right? So because of that, it almost psychologically tells us like it's a lecture, like a college lecture, and not like I want to share my passions in like the heart that I have. So even when we say witness, right, it's within the framework of giving a talk. So a lot of times it doesn't have that heartfelt passion and heart what you're talking about before.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
All right. So other than that, let's think. What else like you think for like a youth minister or someone like that?
So like for like youth minister,
Yeah, like what could they be doing to?
I mean, so this is I remember when I was part of Campus Crusade, like going out to the community, like going into the schools, going into the cafeterias, going into the libraries, because that's how I was reached. Like if Jasmine did not reach me there, who's to say I would have been saved at any given point?
Mm-hmm.
That was literally ministry in the school, and we had a club. And we had a club. I forgot what it was called, but it was a Christian. It was a Christianity club inside public school,
Mm-hmm.
right? I forgot the name of it. But I think she was part of it. I'm not quite sure if she was part of it or whatever. But I became a part of it at that, and that was when I actually kind of received my first Bible
Mm-hmm.
during that time. So like going outside, like going to the local laundromat, for instance, or the local park and ministering and bringing kids to the church and their faith, or just having like game night on a random night that's other than part of ministry.
Yeah, the word we're gonna use again is we're gonna go beyond the four walls. We're so worried about who's in our religious ed program. We're so worried about you sitting in the pews that we aren't reaching the average person in our streets. And then I see the argument about like, well, our neighborhood isn't as Catholic anymore. There's Muslims that moved in, or Jewish people that moved in. Cool, go become friends with the Jewish and Muslim people. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, those.
They opened up a little Christian shop down the street, whatever. Go, cool. Go become friends with them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, stop being scared. Stop being little punks. That stay. Again, I'm gonna say it because like I've gotten to this place where it's like I know that we should be doing better because if we have the fullness of truth, then it's our responsibility to share it
Because
and not keep it to ourselves.
They could bring people to Christ, but why can't we?
Yeah, word.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like we have to be out there ministering everywhere we go. Like, we are images of God, so let's be that to others as well.
Yeah. So let's do this because then we'll start to kind of land. This will be a shorter one, maybe. And if you guys want us to do another one at another point, right? Because I know one of the things that's been asked for us is we used to do Marriage Monday when we first got married, and it's hard for us to find the time to do that. That's why it's like, hey, look, there's tagging this on to this, right? What I'm already doing. But if we can end maybe one last one, because you said music, more engaging in just connected music, right? In that sense, the way in which we deliver our messages,
Yeah.
and then you're saying getting out beyond the walls. You know, it's funny, like, because I've told you, the 5 M's of ministry, but you literally named 3 of them without me even like you don't know them by name.
Oh no.
Easy. So it's crazy. Like,
I mean, the amount of content you create is like I can't keep up these days.
Right. So I'm developing the 5 N's of youth ministry, and 3 of them we just named is the music, the message, and the mission territory. Right. But is there any other like last ones you think you would like to share with people, priests, whoever that's involved?
I mean, I guess like breaking bread together, right? If that makes sense.
It's in a fellowship, the community
Fellowship,
aspect, yeah.
more aspect of that. I think that it would be good for the priests to come out of that, box and sit down and eat with the people and conversate. So like maybe on Sundays have coffee and donuts, or, and get to know more of those people.
And there's small pockets where that happens.
Yeah, there.
Right? There's small pockets where that happens. And I think if I could maybe in a clearer way, because I know we have a shortage of priests.
Right. That's
Right. There's not as many. And big shouts out to Husto and Jessica, because I mean that's been a good fellowship for us.
Yeah,
Other good Catholic families coming together.
I mean, that's a good point, because you said that, right? Like, we don't have many Catholics that are married, that are our age, that we are connected to.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, you did say that. You did say Huso.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, and I think I said this earlier, but and if I didn't say it clearly, it's like, yo, we done all the right things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we got married young. You know what I'm saying? They keep it together and do, the best way to be chaste and stay connected. So we're not, living outside God's graces. We did all the right things. And like, it's so that other young people that come through the youth ministry program, other young adults that come through, like, how can we find ways for you to, this is the buzzword, accompany them better, right? That's the fellowship with the priest. That's the fellowship with other young adults, creating spaces where they can be accompanied.
Right. Exactly. And I think that's kind of like something that is kind of missing, that we could see if we could build into what we already, starting and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, so just to give words to it, again, you named three: the music, the message, and the mission territory.
Yeah.
But you're kind of hinting at it. Another one is the members. This is the actual people themselves, the volunteers, the staff, and how they interact with people.
Right.
And the other one is the meeting space itself, like actual. So yeah.
Oh, I named them without even.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the more I had this conversation with people, like, we're all saying the same things. I think, thank you, Holy Spirit, kind of giving words to it to make it clear. Though.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
It's been good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I thank y'all for watching. Y'all know I get passionate about stuff, and I'm just be going on. So.
And I'm like,
hey, I love Jesus. I love our church, and I want us to do better.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, thank you for accompanying me. Shouts out to y'all. Hey, so y'all know, anytime y'all invite me somewhere, just so you know, like, I want to give all my time and energy and effort and everything to you. And as the person left with the housework and the kids and all the other stuff. And so, yeah, prayers and support in all those ways as well.
Yep. Amen to that.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank y'all for watching. Y'all can go, bethesymbol.com, sign up email list, all that other like stuff. Follow on social and pray this blessed you or give voice to something that can convict your hearts to move forward. Peace.